Take it away, Dwayne.
Okay. I'll go slideshow about. Oh, and then I guess so the facilitator group introduce themselves, and then there's one more, Virginia May. But we have this happens to overlap with our weekly office hour. So Virginia is holding out the fort in our office hour, but she'll be here tomorrow. Okay, so welcome. We did that already. Um, I like to start by just saying, what is Doenet? And my way of introducing it, I think of it more as a community of people. I mean, it's software, a way of writing activities and things like that, but really it's an open source project that's led by a bunch of people who are interested in trying to figure out how to do interesting things with teaching and helping people learn math. We started off with mathematics, and that's still our focus, but other STEM activities as well, subjects as well. So we're basically a bunch of people that are trying to figure out how to engage our students, right? To get through to our students, we're focused on, can we somehow like spur active interactions with mathematical ideas? And that's where the Doenet tool comes from. So I would say that the Doenet secret sauce, or one of the areas that it does best in, is what I like to call interactive exploratory activities. So an interactive exploratory, the way I would use it in my class is I'm introducing a topic and the students are kind of engaging with the activity. There's they're learning it as they go. So it's not like I'm thinking of it as not as an assessment or summative assessment, but a way of sort of introducing activities. And a lot of times I have people have like graphical kinds of interactives, and it will give students feedback on whether they're seem to be going in the right direction. A big focus is on feedback, being able to give students instant feedback. Um, I use it in my class. I have my students on laptops, and I like to um, let the students get an idea that, hey, they should probably raise their hand, and because they aren't understanding things, right? So trying to close that loop so they'll go and get feedback from the instructor. It can be used a lot of other ways as well. It can do more standard assessment questions or homework or things like that. Um, but I would say that's kind of like driving force behind Doenet is these kind of interactive exploratory activities. I mentioned this a little bit before, but so this Doenet is an open source and community-driven activity. So all our content is written by people like you. It is licensed with an open source license, so it'll be always be freely available. And we're always excited to find more people that would be interested in joining, sharing activities, taking other people's activities and tweaking them for your own classes, things like that. So it's that's what Donut is. I and some other people write the software, but the real hard work is writing the content. Speaking of the content, I want to introduce one term in here. So Doenet we have something called Doenet ML, Doenet markup language. So what a markup language is it's a way of writing content, but it's not like, a program like Microsoft Word or where it's visual. Instead, you have to type some little tags in there, so it's maybe slightly a little more complicated than just like making things bold. But the reason is it allows us to write things semantically. And so one of the focuses of Doenet ML, the Doenet markup language, is insisting or helping you to write activities in a way that gives semantics to it. So I like to give an example that if you were, let's say drawing a number line and you have a circle that's unfilled. I mean, you could say, oh, here's a circle and it's this color and make the inside unfilled. But instead, what we want you to do is use a tag called, let's say, an endpoint tag, which has attributes, is it a closed or open endpoint and things like that, like where we're not styling them for how it looks, we're instead writing them for what it means. And then Donut kind of figures out how to make it what to make it look like. And one advantage of that is if you write things semantically, it helps us make things accessible for other like assistive technologies and things like that. If we know what you mean, not exactly how do you want that on to show up on the screen, then we can better come up with, descriptions for screen readers or other kinds of assistive technologies. Um, and that's one of the reasons we like to do things semantically. So today is the first day of a 4-day workshop. Let's give you a quick overview of what the plan is for today and the next 4 days. So I'm doing an introduction to Doenet today, and then we're also going to talk about, I'm going to do a basic answer validation. How do you give students answer blanks that they can fill in, and then you can give them feedback. Tomorrow we're going to talk one of the key things in Doenet is something called references that allows you to connect things together and make things change. When you change one part of the activity dynamically, another part will change with it. So mostly we talk about references, and then Virginia is going to be talking about randomizing numbers and how sort of the way that Doenet approaches that. Uh, Thursday, we'll start talking about basic graphs. We'll also be talking about basic graphs, and I'm going to talk about how do you then build on that to make graphical answers where you have students you validate the students' answers. And then finally on Friday, Anar's going to talk about some more advanced features, and then Virginia is going to spend some time specifically talking about how to make things accessible in Doenet and how some of the features in Doenet really let us do cool stuff to interact with screen readers and things like that. Then you didn't know about this, but we actually tacked on another day that we hope you can come. So on Tuesdays from 2 to 4 Eastern, we have something called office hours, where just drop in. We hang out in a Zoom room. People come by and ask us questions or just sit there with their camera off and do work and listen to what's going on. But what we like to do after a workshop is to have some time where people can come by and do a little bit of show and tell, show off, hey, here's what I was able to do. Here's the cool things I was able to create during the workshop. And so we invite you to come on next Tuesday between 3 and 4 Eastern time. We'll have like a little show and tell session we hope most of you can make it to say, hey, here's what I was able to do. I didn't know anything about Doenet a week ago, and now look, I made this cool little activity. And then, of course, ask for help and all that stuff too. We can help you improve it. Or you can teach us new things about cool stuff. Okay. So that's my tour. That's my intro. Now I want to give a quick tour of Doenet. So I'm going to switch to a web browser, different web browser over here. To go to Doenet, if you all could open up a web browser and then go to beta.doenet.org. And you only have to know the word beta up until Friday, because hopefully starting on Friday, we will have moved the regular doenet.org over to it. But if you go to doenet.org right now, it's our legacy site. So what we want to do is teach you the new way of Doenet. So go to beta.doenet.org. You don't even need to log in for now. Create an account at the moment, because what we can do is if you can go and click on this try writing button. So go to beta.doenet.org and click on try writing. And when you click on try writing, it should open up something called the scratch pad. So I'll just pause there for a moment for people. Can people get into the scratch pad? Go to beta.doenet.org, click on try writing and get this up. Anyone having trouble? Or any questions? You give a thumbs up if you made it here. Of course, I only see two people on the thing, but okay, at least the two I can see have it. All right. So you go to Scratchpad. So to orient you to the Scratchpad, this left side here is the markup. That's the sort of the language that we're going to use. You'll see it looks a lot like, if you've ever programmed in HTML, it looks a lot like HTML. I'm not going to talk about that right now. I wanted to focus for now on the right-hand side, which is the viewer. So I just want to give you an overview of some things you can do. Oops, I need to start where you start. It should look like this for you guys. All right, so it should say, welcome to the Doenet Scratchpad. Hopefully that's what you're seeing. I do want to say one thing about the Scratchpad is you can go over here on the left-hand side. You can say, hello, this is new. And if you click on update, you can see that it says, hello, this is new. So you can, and if I reload the page, it does save that. So I've now, quote, saved it, but it's not really saved for long. If I go over here and I load in something else and I go back to the Scratchpad welcome, it's gone. So anything you put in the Scratchpad is not permanently saved. It will stick around until you load something else in there. So it's a way of like, there's no risks. You can't break anything. You can always just reload it, but it also won't allow you to save anything you want to keep for later. So we'll use the scratch pad a lot, especially today, because it just lets you don't have to worry about even anyone, even anonymous, can play around with the scratch pad. Okay, everybody got here? Any questions? So what I want you to do is I want to give you I want to show you some interesting stuff. So click on this load button here in Scratchpad and go to graphical answer examples. I just want to give you a overview of some of the kinds of ways in which Doenet can ask graphical questions or give you some.
Dwayne, could we take a brief pause,
Mhm.
make a change on the left-hand side and show folks how to update again on the right?
So if I say hello, and then you click on this update button, click on here. Now you can see the word hello right there. Honorar's going to tell you more about actually how to make code and things like that. So at this point, don't worry too much about what you see here, but you can of course play around with it and you'll see that that works. Okay, got them, but I'm going to lose my changes because I'm going to click on load and I'm going to go to graphical answer example. Hopefully, you now see this little graph over here. And here is a very hard question. So this is just a little silliness, but just to show you the kinds of things you can do in Doenet. We have a little point here. I can move it around and it says, move the point to the second quadrant. So you can fiddle with that and then you can click on here and it'll tell you whether it's correct or not. So move your point around, see if you can remember where the second quadrant is. I can never remember, so I'll go do them all. At some point I'm going to get to the second quadrant. And there, okay, finally I got the second quadrant. So a really basic idea. Um, but these are the kinds of feedback that you can give students. You can just give them whether it's correct or incorrect. We'll later learn how to do other more detailed feedback. Here's another little one. Move the red squares to the maximum of the function. And as you learn about doing it, you can look to see how we did it. Um, but it basically says you award it when your answers are the maxima. So go ahead and play with that. See if that makes sense to you. Hopefully it'll work. This one I particularly did partial credit, so it should give you half credit if you got one of the two maxima. Okay, so those are pretty basic kinds of graphs. We can make it more open-ended. I like to make things more open-ended. So let's look at this third question here. Now, this third question is more, it doesn't actually have one right answer. It's pretty open-ended. So just move the points because we're going to draw a function that has a local maximum at x equals -2 and a local minimum with a value of y equals -5 and no other local extrema. And so you can go ahead and grab these points and it'll just sketch, oops, I'll sketch this function. I don't know why I can't seem to grab the point itself, but there you go, sketch the function. So go ahead and see if you agree with what Doenet thinks about a local maximum at x equals -2 and a local minimum at y equals uh, -5. And then you can also notice you'll get different feedback here as you try different things. Were you guys able to make Doenet happy? All right, so what is it again? I need a maximum at x equals -2. So I do that. Okay, so I got good job. It correctly has a local maximum. It does correctly have one local minimum. So if I did this, then maybe it'll tell me I get mad at me about that. Yeah, I must have only one local minimum. Okay. And then I need to make the minimum at y equals -5. Just go down here. And there you go. So again, there's ton of different correct answers. Are you guys happy with that, or are you mad that about Donet's how Doenet graded it? It's only local extrema, so it's not talking about what's happening over there. And then one final one. So here is like a solution to a differential equation. I have an initial condition at y equals 1 at time equals 0. And this is a linear differential equation. And I want students to know that it's going to decay exponentially to y equals 8 as time moves on. So they have to move the points. They can also move these little handles to get the right shape. And hopefully they can learn the initial condition must be 1. And again, you'll get different feedback about, okay, if I did this wrong, it would tell me it's in the wrong spot. But go ahead and play around with that. See if you can get Doenet to grade your response to the solution of this linear differential equation. And it's not a quantitative. This is not asking for a quantitative response. I want a qualitative response. So if you actually plug this into a calculator, and you'd see it's probably not going to match exactly, but that's okay. Anybody able to get it to work? Or should I give you more time? And we do encourage you to put your cameras on if you aren't eating lunch or something, because then I can at least see if you're doing thumbs up or if you have any questions. It's easier to figure out what's going on if people are willing to put their camera on. So give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you got this, or let me know if you want some feedback. Just give away the answer. So it should asymptote to 8. I'm gonna put it at 8, and then I just have to go like this. So it's not exactly right. It's right on 8, but whatever. Qualitatively, pretend this is asymptotically going to 8. It's good enough for like if someone was going to sketch a graph. If someone were to sketch this graph on an exam, I would count this as correct. It's close enough. It starts at y equals 0, increases rapidly, and then asymptotes to y equals 8 as t increases. Any questions on that? We haven't learned how to make this stuff, but at least in principle, how these work. Then I want to shift gears and show you one other type of problem set because I think it's fun. Let's go to the pretzel demo. So again, you click on this load button over here. You're going to lose if you made any changes, you're going to lose your work. And then click on pretzel demo. And see if you can figure out how to do a pretzel. And you read the instructions, but basically pick a question you want to answer with, put a one by it, and then put a two by the one that has the answer. It doesn't matter which one you start with. The idea, this is, well, Anurag, you can tell a little bit about the background of pretzels.
Well, maybe we'll give people 3 minutes to finish it or work through it. Then we'll chat about it.
Sounds good?
3:27 Eastern. We'll start talking again.
Okay.
3:28. All right, that's 3:28. I guess of the folks that have maybe finished it, um, what do we think? Good, bad, ugly? What do you guys think having played with this?
I think once you understand how it works, I don't know, there's a light that kind of goes off. I remember you mentioning this at the professional development recently, how your students like this. And I can understand why they do kind of the whole starting wherever you want to start and kind of leading you to wherever you lead or wherever you finish. So I like it. It's pretty neat.
I didn't make these things, so you will not hurt my feelings if you're afraid of saying this is terrible.
I think it's novel. I don't think students necessarily they see the connection between problems all the time. And so I think it gives them something to kind of work. And in some ways, it's a little bit self-correcting because if you end up back before you've visited everything, you have an opportunity to kind of say, made a mistake somewhere.
Other thoughts? You guys are doing my work in about an hour, so Jane?
Yeah, could someone explain how this works at all? Because I couldn't get it to work at all.
Sure.
Okay.
So, start anywhere you like. So, which question would you like to do first? And I
So
think
I'd like to
Dwayne
say
shared.
that 7 is an even number is false. So I entered 1 after the true false for 7. And
Dwayne, could
then
we reset since you're sharing your screen?
I'm not sharing my screen. Do you want?
I'll do
Oh, no,
it.
no, I was just going to have Dwayne do it. So, could we enter
Okay.
one there?
Okay, I put a
Now,
one there.
7 is an even number. That's a claim. Is that true
Yeah,
or
so I
false?
looked for the false, which is the second column, second one down. Where do
Huh?
you put a 2 in? So yeah, I put a 2 in there,
Yep.
Mhm.
and then it didn't. I checked my work, it wouldn't accept it. It just said
You have to
incorrect.
finish the entire activity. I don't want to give you incremental feedback.
I see. Okay.
So
So,
you have to
but
make a claim that I have, as a student, I have done every problem correctly in the correct order.
I see. So there's just no intermediate feedback, and
That's
it
right.
probably
Correct.
would have worked for me
Well,
if I
the
did follow
intermediate
it.
feedback is, so this is where, maybe I'm skipping ahead an hour. This is where pedagogically you can start throwing in distractors. So this was just done as a demo to be finished very quickly. But you can imagine taking common mistakes and throwing them in as answers to other questions, which requires a bit more forethought.
Sure.
And then you can ask students to say, well, if your answer is not present in the document itself, either you made a mistake or the answer is present but in a different form. So have
Okay.
you,
All right. I like it. I get it now. Thank
oh,
you.
okay.
It's actually kind of fun. Yeah,
Other
and I can
thoughts,
see there's
good,
an
bad,
art
ugly,
to
or
writing these.
shortcomings?
I have a question.
Sure.
Um, where did you say that your answer for the first question to 7 is an even number, that the answer was 1?
So if you look in the gray, each cell has a
Mm-hmm,
gray eyebrow and a
mm-hmm,
white chin.
mm-hmm.
The answers are always in the gray section, and maybe we need a better way of elucidating this.
What you're doing is
That's
you're
where you
assigning
look
an
for the
order.
answers. Sorry, Clark, were you
Mm-hmm.
saying something,
Yeah, you're
please?
assigning an order to the problems
Correct.
where you go from question to answer.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
All you're
right.
doing, and for students that maybe really have a hard time with the instructions, I'd say all you're doing is telling me the order in which you're solving the problems. The
Okay.
questions are there on the page, and so are the
Mm-hmm.
answers. You have to
Mm.
match them. It's a glorified
Okay.
matching problem.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And um, any other thoughts, ideas, shortcomings in particular, because that creates the intellectual need for what we're about to do later. Clark?
Now, I think before the instructions that are there, it would be beneficial in this to say the goal is to place the numbers 1 through 8 into the boxes so that the answer to a numbered question is numbered with the next digit modulo. Well, modulo, maybe it should be 0 through 7.
You can. So you don't have to start at one. You can start with any
No,
number
you
you want.
don't, but you want to put them in an order so that the answer is the next digit modulo 8.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think it also might be better to have the answers, I don't know, below or above. I'm not sure which is better.
Cameron, hold on to that thought for about an hour.
I think honestly, I didn't click the instructions to open, so
That's
that's
all
why I
right.
was confused.
Okay,
Is
so
there a way maybe to like make them into little puzzle boxes or something, or puzzle pieces where you could like fit them together? So like, so on the left side you could have the answer, on the right side you could have um the next question. You could maybe like form a circle or something with the different pieces, just to like give the visual of like, okay, there's the question, there's the answer, here's the next question you're about to ask. And that would be pretty cool to see. That might
Um,
solve some of the like location kind of like where's the answer? What's the next question kind of a thing.
I've added something to my quick show and tell whenever I get to it.
Cool.
Okay.
Thanks.
At the risk of maybe taking too long, Dwayne, do you want to move on or am I next? I forget.
I think I think that's it.
Okay.
I think I'm going to let you go next. Oh, wait, no. Wait a minute. I missed something. Let me go back to my, hold on. There's a piece I missed. Some point we were supposed to have them. Oh, no, that's next. Okay. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna share my screen again. I was like, wait a minute. There's one part. If I can find my share button again. If I go back to my slides. Now we want to ask you some questions. So we need to introduce ourselves
You're
a little bit.
sharing the planning document, Dwayne.
What am I sharing?
The Google Doc.
Oh, that's boring. How about this one? Now, so now we have some questions for you. Um, so go ahead and we're just like curious about like, how did you hear about this workshop? What's your experience of creating online homework problems? What do you hope to learn from this session? And what courses do you typically teach? So basically, just for free for all, type those answers in the chat just so we can kind of hear what are the kinds of things that you're interested in. Tell us about you.
Looks like we need to send the Proteus folks and Matt a nice thank you card.
Maybe one more minute. But yeah, that's definitely a downside of the online workshops. We can't hand out donuts. I have to come to an in-person one someday. Okay, well, thanks people for sharing the stuff. We're hopefully we can help you learn a lot of cool stuff in the next few days, and it won't have to end then too. We have plenty of opportunities for you to still stay connected and learn things. But Anurag, I think it's to you now.
Forget I was on mute. I primarily teach intermediate algebra, which is equivalent to about Algebra 1 and a wee bit of Algebra 2 from middle and high school. Um, Tends to be mostly those courses, and then either a section of Calc 2, Calc 3, or differential equations. Past couple of semesters, it's just been Calc 2. This is a structure we call a cascade. I haven't seen it in too many other places, to be honest. Uh, Typically, the way a question like this gets asked is, here's a question, here's a box, type in your answer, and you move on. And the downside of that approach tends to be that it's almost custom made for photo math and algebra solvers, where students just take a photo of the question, they type in their answer, they move on, they get perfect scores on homeworks, and then they come to class and have no idea what they've done. I got quite annoyed with just an epidemic of that, and only recently found out that this way of doing things is called thin slicing. So if you're used to edtech jargon, that's what that means. My approach to this was to take a simple question like this and smash it into as many small, tiny little bits as possible to where honestly working through the activity or the problem tends to become the path of least resistance. There is nothing inherently AI proof about anything you write in intermediate algebra. I don't think you can write a novel question for an algebra course that's, suited for seventh and eighth graders. So the only thing I can do, and I think I've done it somewhat successfully over the past 2 years, is make it more annoying to cheat than to just do the work. And these are words from students from my evaluations. So here we start the semester with not assuming they know how to do anything with fractions or integers, even for that matter. But the first thing they have to do is tell me which of the two denominators is smaller and which one is larger. So here oops, wrong screen. I'll type in 11. It's incorrect. 3, hooray. Now notice what happens as I press this. You'll notice that there are two more steps to come. So students who maybe have accommodations don't feel anxious about, well, I don't know how long this activity is. I don't know, what's coming next or how many more things are coming next. But I don't tell you what's going to happen next outside of just giving you a title for it. So if I click this, now a couple more questions will show up before I even get you to step 2. And as you can imagine, can you do this with AI? Sure, but it gets massively annoying to have to keep copy pasting things over. And eventually, there are some safeguards in place where if you do something that I don't want you to, or if you walk into an obvious trap that you wouldn't have walked into had you been doing the activity, you have to do the whole thing again, which students really don't want to do. So there are little mouse traps that you can set for them. Now you have to find the LCD, which thankfully is 33, and now step 2 opens up. So I won't make you sit through the whole thing, but you can imagine here having students write the steps that they normally wouldn't, where a common mistake, at least that I've seen in my courses, is they'll just write 7/11 times 3, as opposed to times 3 over 3, which is mathematically incorrect and it irks me. I know what they think they're doing, but it's wrong. And it then starts perpetuating these incorrectly held beliefs that they can't do math when no one sort of held their feet to the fire up until now and said, no, you need to do things the right way and you need to slow down. So this structure has, at least in my context, allowed for me to know exactly where a student is stuck. So you can imagine a longer activity on solving rational equations. If a student can't get past the very first step, that tells me they don't know how to factor specifically. So there's no sense in moving past and saying, oh, you have to make the denominators the same if the student doesn't even know how to factor. That same feedback, positive feedback, has been given back to me through tutors in the math lab or in our learning center, where they've said it's a lot easier to now help students because we know where they're stuck. So instead of them saying, I'm stuck in section 7.3, no, I need help with just knowing how to factor things before I can on ramp onto solving rational equations. So this is a structure that I like. I don't want to misattribute things, but I think Cameron suggested something like this. These come from computer science, and if I'm being completely honest, I think Melissa made a thing, and then I said, well, I want to do something similar, and I made this. So there's a question up top here. You can move the next step over. So let's say I think this is the next step, and the answer to that problem is this. And then you check your work, and obviously that's incorrect. So if you move the correct pieces in the correct order and you leave the unused pieces on the right-hand side, then you'll get the whole thing correct. So could this be used instead of a pretzel? Sure. Would love to have someone make one. This is a sample question from my most recent final exam. And hopefully, well, anyone care to give me a slope for a linear function? Here are the choices.
What about -2?
-2, excellent choice. How about a y-intercept or a value of b?
-9.
-9? All right.
Sure.
Spencer, as you're about to see next, negative or 1 over pi is not going to be pleasant because you have to graph it next. So unless you're also having them scale things, we'll stay away from that. So now I want you to graph this equation. So we're going to start at -9. And if you need to, you can zoom in or out. Or you can recenter things. And The line only appears when it's correct. So if I move the point to where it's not supposed to be and I check my work, no line will appear. So if I move it in the correct spot, and again, notice that they don't move on until they get that piece correct. Now I'm curious, the people that have taught these types of things, the standard question that at least I've seen is find the equation of a line perpendicular to y equals 3x minus 7 that passes through a given point, 2 comma 5 or whatever. In my experience, I found students just memorize an algorithm, at least the ones that do it correctly for the most part. They plug numbers in the locations that they've memorized, but they don't necessarily understand why they're doing the thing that they're doing. So here, I want you to graph an equation of a line, any line, that's perpendicular to this guy. The points that you pick cannot pass through this line, which is a distractor. It has, if you understand for two lines to be perpendicular, the product of the slopes has to be -1, and that's it. And that has nothing to do with the equation of either line. There's a relationship between slopes that I want students to understand or be able to explain to me that that's what it is. So here they start by typically they'll pick this point, and then I yell at them, hey, don't pick a point that's on the graph. Now, if they understand, they can pick the origin and just go there. Had they not done that, had they picked a point somewhere here and gone like so, that would also be correct. The downside of this approach is now finding the equation of the line becomes more annoying because you don't have a nice y-intercept. So there's a lot more cognitively loaded on which number should you pick so that it makes your life easier in the long run, as opposed to just memorizing a sequence of procedures where can you execute it? Sure. But why would you pick this as your first point versus the point 3 comma 4? So this is what they're doing on Doenet. On paper, they're explaining their choices. So I don't care whether, I mean, I can know very quickly whether they've done the problem correctly or not. And worse, if they've copied off of someone else, sure, but on paper, you need to write by hand why you chose that point to be the y-intercept. Or why did you pick your first point to be the y-intercept? Well, because it makes writing the equation of the line easier. And then the activity continues with coming up with a line that's parallel to the blue one. And then they have to come up with explanations for why the new line would be either perpendicular or parallel to the original one that we started with. So these types of questions I can't ask on paper. So there's a specific domain of expertise that I think Doenet has. And the last thing for the show and tell, I use standards-based grading, mastery-based grading, whatever, alternative grading if you like. I have learning targets for my intermediate algebra course. I am tired of fielding questions of, hey, I need some practice questions that look like the quiz. No, I will not give you those that look like the quiz, but I'll give you things that you should be able to do in order to access the questions on the quiz. Any choices or anything you'd like to see in particular? Nothing special about it.
LT5.
LT5. So if I select LT5 and I scroll down, a whole bunch of questions appear. And if you want to switch to a different learning target, I switch to LT3, a bunch of other questions appear. LT11. I hope I got this far. There it is.
Are these questions
Pardon me?
static? Will they be the same every time?
You have the ability to make certain things. Yeah, you have the ability to make things static or randomized. And if you want to know how to randomize them, come back tomorrow. But yes, you have the ability to make questions randomized to begin with, and then pull on a lever that says assign everyone in the class the same variant, or make everyone do a different version of the problem. So you have the ability as the author. Is it more work to make randomized problems? Yes, because you always want integer solutions or you want nice fractions. You don't want students getting 19 over 271 because they freak out and think they made a mistake. So there's a fair bit of care that needs to go into, and we'll talk about that maybe tomorrow or day after, about how to write questions working back from the answer. But short answer is yes, you can randomize them or you can make them static. Oops, you weren't supposed to see that. All right, now to the actual business end of the workshop. There are things on the left-hand side, that's the editor. There are things on the right-hand side that are rendered. Feel free to unmute and tell me what you notice.
Style. Option 2 looks, but it has math style.
Pardon me?
Math style, right? Option 2? Or
Option 2 has some mathematical output. I agree.
yeah. And then option 3 is in two lines.
Option 3 has 2 lines. Spencer says white space doesn't matter. All right. So if I take away all this stuff, do we expect anything to change on the right-hand side? No. It looks like XML, says Clark. And I'm always scared to say this. I think pretext is related to XML and Doenet is related to pretext, Wayne.
Yeah, pretext is a kind of XML. Doenet is XML asterisk because we cheat in some ways, but it's pretty close to XML.
We are better. He just wants to be polite and not say that. But yes, we are better. The asterisk means it's good and it's better. Other things, I think Cameron said something that I said I was going to talk about later. Do you remember what you were talking about, Cameron?
Yeah, I noticed that you didn't put or Dwayne didn't put like paragraph tags around text, but it still showed up on the right hand side, which is uh not what I'm used to seeing. Yeah. Oh, hello, Finn.
To bring back what Dwayne was showing us earlier, if you just type stuff, it's going to appear in the same line. Now, even if I press enter here, it still appears in the same line. So what do you think I would need to do based on some cheating here? How would I put both of these in 2 separate lines?
Write them in
You would
paragraphs.
enclose them in paragraph tags.
So Doenet is structured by things called tags or components. In Doenet, whenever you want to write a tag or a component, you start by writing a less than or an angle bracket, and then there's a whole bunch of components that are available to you. So this is called a paragraph component or the paragraph tag or just the p tag. And if I press update, now you can see hi there is in its own paragraph, and then this is Anurag is in a separate paragraph. I don't have to tell Doenet that this is in its own line because the thing after it is its own paragraph as well. Although to be proper, we should probably do this. And there it is. Other things, and I should bring up my list of things that we should be covering. So we have a P tag. What else looks different?
You have an italics tag on option 2.
So option 2 looks different, and that's by the emphasis tag or EM. So if I
There's a
wanted
bold.
to nest things, I can do that as well. I can place this as Anurag within an M tag or an EM tag, and that italicizes things. I think someone said bold as well. How do we make things bold?
With an alert.
Alert, not strong, gives us a bold option. How do you think you make things larger on the screen?
Says title.
Titles, by definition, are
Heading.
going to be more visibly enhanced.
Other headings, subtitles, and stuff like that? Or,
I don't think we have headers, and that's what I was trying to get to, right, Dwayne?
That's right, we don't have headers, just titles.
Is there something on the right-hand side that's not on the left-hand side, or vice versa? Is there something on the left-hand side that you don't see on the right-hand side?
Yeah, there's a comment on the left, left angle bracket, exclamation point, two dashes, closed by dash dash, right angle.
So that is a comment in Doenet and perhaps in other places as well. You comment things out by using command and forward slash if you're using a Mac, or you can use control and forward slash if unfortunately you're on a Windows machine. And if you're like Dwayne on a Linux machine, we have nothing to say to you. So you can comment an entire line out, or you can select a block of text. So I want to comment the whole thing out. I select all of it, command forward slash or control forward slash comments out that entire block. With the same keystrokes, you can uncomment things out as well. So comments are invisible to Doenet. It's things that you as the author can see, or maybe there are notes or things that you're keeping there for testing purposes, but Doenet will just ignore them. It's as if they're not there. So if you want to try things out and not delete things, well, comment them out. There's my list. One other shortcut that tends to be handy is if you've made a change on the left-hand side. Oops. You can click this update button, or if you use Command S or Control S, that will update things for you as well. Once you get used to the keyboard shortcuts, things move a lot faster instead of having to move your mouse and do things over. Now, do we notice that within this P tag is also an M or an EM tag? That's almost, I'm using David Farmer's analogy of putting a box within a box. That's how he likes to explain pretext. So with Doenet, you can have that nesting behavior as well. Last thing, I'm going to write an inequality. So give me an inequality. Give me your favorite linear inequality. No one's got a favorite one? All right. What do you think happens when I press Command S or update?
It's just going to render it as text.
Any other takers?
It's going to be a problem because you've got a left angle bracket.
We'll give that away. The moment you use an angle bracket or a less than symbol, Doenet is going to think, hey, there's a component name that's about to come right after the less than. And thankfully, there's no component named 3. Now, in pretext, you have to escape the character route. Is that what it's called?
Sure.
Here, you can just put a space. And everything is happy in the world.
Which
So
is why
whenever you
it's not
have,
XML. This is not allowed in XML. This is our asterisk.
and this is why I said we are better.
It's still not typeset as mathematics, though.
Pardon me?
It's not typeset as mathematics. You don't have the italicized variable.
So that's my next question. How do I typeset it as mathematics so that it looks like option 2, but not as option 1? A hint might be to look at how things are written on here. Spencer has it. Stick it around, or stick an M tag around it. And that gives us nice, pretty math font. or math type.
So what's the difference between the M and the EM tag?
EM is just italicizing things.
Mm-hmm.
So let's try that here.
Okay.
Uh, it looks
Mm-hmm.
awkward,
Just
but if I
mm-hmm.
wanted to, I'm curious what would happen if I did this. I think it's just gonna, yeah. EM is just italicizing plain text.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
if you wanted to display this as mathematics with LaTeX, then you'd have to put it with an NM
Mm-hmm.
tag.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
how essential is it? Sorry, are you still, is that question resolved? How essential is it to use the paragraph tag? Because I tried a couple without the P tag and it still seems to work. Is it just recommended to keep the sentences organized or?
It's necessary whenever you want the sentence to start in a second line or in the following line. So if I
Okay.
take these P tags away, it's not a requirement, but this will appear on the same line.
Okay. So it's really segmenting out paragraphs.
Correct. If what you want to relay to the end user is two separate thoughts, then a P tag becomes necessary. Other questions? Is there a line break? I think there is now. Yes, Dwayne? I've seen,
Test it.
I think I've seen Chris do this. Ah, there's that as well. I only learned about line breaks maybe a week or two ago, so I don't use them, or at least they're not in my muscle memory yet, but I guess you can use them now. Any other questions or thoughts? Okay,
Is there a
now
just
go ahead.
sorry? Is there a like a display math mode like there is in LaTeX?
Is that what you mean, or do you mean like so?
Yes, I think the second. Oh, well, I guess both. One is an inline display and the other one is
So this would be
a
inline.
part. Uh-huh.
If I take away display style, then it will render the same, it'll be a similar size to the sentence. And then ME is the equivalent of $2 signs if you're using
Mm-hmm.
dollar signs as your delimiters.
Okay. Thanks.
Mhm.
And for those of you who know pretext did ME, which is why I did it. Now they switched it to MD, and I haven't switched it to follow their new suit. But I suppose eventually I should make it MD again for pretext compatibility. But
Yeah, they folded ME into
that's
MD.
right. So we still have that. We do have an MD in here, the old pretext way, but I haven't folded it all together. But hard to keep track of evolving languages.
All right. Next, we will have fun together. Or, well, you will have fun independently, and then we'll have fun together. I shared a link in the chat. If you open it, or if you click on it, it will look like this. Wait, that's not the link. Sorry. Uh, that's the one. So the second link I just shared, can I delete the old one? Yes. So you'll notice there's a link in the Zoom chat. If you click on it, this should show up. It's a broken document. And there's a couple things you can do to fix it. That's the next task. You can either click on Load into Scratchpad on the top right, and as Dwayne said earlier, if you load something into Scratchpad, it's temporary memory. You'll be able to use it, but long term, it's gone. If, on the other hand, you want to save the work that you're doing during this workshop, as you might want to at some point of time, you can also click on Sign in to use content. I will do that just to demo. And here you have two options. You can use an email of your choice. Click sign up. In your email of choice, you'll get a code. You type in the code that authenticates you, and you can log in that way. I personally just sign in with my personal Gmail account, so that's one less set of credentials that I need to remember. Once you're done with that, you should be able to see let's load into Scratchpad. You'll see the Doenet ML markup language on the left-hand side. There's this broken activity on the right-hand side. Your task now is to just fix it. Make the errors go away.
So I missed how you loaded into the Scratchpad.
So again, let's do this. When you just click on the link, this should show up. On the
Yep.
top right corner of the screen, there's an option to either load it into your Scratchpad, and when you click on it, it will just give you a playground to play in. Spencer doesn't have that button. Dwayne,
Yeah.
why
I don't
might
have that
you
button
not have
because
that
I'm logged in,
button?
I think.
Show it. I don't know. Show it on a non-incognito window to see what it looks like if you're logged in.
If you already have an account and you're logged in, this should show up.
Mhm.
And then show what happens with the add to button.
At that stage, if you're logged in already because you have an account, you might want to click on Add To. You can either add it to a Scratchpad here, or you can add it to your activities if you want it to persist beyond the workshop.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep. Is there anyone who does not yet have some way of editing this stuff on the left-hand side? We're all there? All right. Shall we say 4:18 p.m. Eastern time? So maybe 6.5 minutes. If you get stuck, ask for help.
When are we finished? Because mine now works, but I don't know if you want it. It doesn't have very nice formatting. Should we be going for nice formatting?
The task right now is to just get rid of the errors. And outside of that, you're welcome to take a stretch break, grab some water, and we'll continue in a couple minutes.
Okay, great.
It should be fairly short if you're comfortable with fixing these sorts of things.
Yeah.
But we just wanted to give you enough time in case you're new. How are we doing? Anyone terribly stuck anywhere? Or are we doing okay? Alrighty, I got 418. Anyone care to help me get rid of these errors? What do we do?
Well, it's telling you what to do. So I think you just follow its instructions.
All right, so here's a closing tag in line 11, but it doesn't have an opening tag, so perhaps we provide an opening tag here. In line 12, there's an opening tag, but no closing tag, so we do that there. Um, Now notice there's typically these red angry squiggles that will tell you there's an issue. Sometimes they're orange. Orange means it's just a warning. You're doing something that is not making Donut happy, but not angry enough to make it stop. The red ones are Donut will not proceed because you've broken something sufficiently. So if I place this closing P tag here, the red one goes away, and then now the warning goes away as well. And voila, things are good. Something behind my head is actually new thanks to Dwayne. You'll notice if I click on a component, well, this one's kind of boring. It just says bold text, but that's what it does. If you click on image, it will display a static image. And if you click on one of the attributes are things that are red, at least in this screen. They allow you to modify the behavior of a component. So if you just have a static image, but you want to change the size of it, then you can do so by using the size attribute. Now, where is this image coming from? It's coming from this link, and that is given to us by this source attribute. Now, imagine you wanted to change something else about this, or you wanted to know more about the image component itself. There's a couple of ways to find out more. You can either click on reference page down below in the context sensitive help, or you can click over on this question mark and go to the documentation page. Both will get us to the same place. Now, once you're in the documentation page, you can click on reference. And here's a listing of every single Doenet component that's out there. Image is right there. Imagine I wanted to learn more about image. There's a lot of attributes and properties. We'll talk about properties later. But these are, so anchor is an attribute. Position from anchor is another one. And then these are the flags that you can put on those individual attributes. Where do you want the image to be anchored? And then relative to that, maybe you're adding a label that needs to be anchored elsewhere. There's author name, and there's a whole bunch of different properties and attributes that you can read about here. So in the interest of time, and this is also perhaps not entirely obvious what needs to be done, what I want to do together is to recreate exactly what we see here down below with your help. And along the way, maybe we'll learn about some other components as well. So one thing that you'll notice here is that there's an aside component that has a title of instructions. So if I close this, that's my aside. It is different to the pretext aside, even though it has the same name. But an aside is an example of a sectional component that is closed by default. So you can click on it to open, you can click on it to close. What I would like to do is create a new section, give it a title of session 2 tasks. And if I update, I have a title of session 2 tasks. What do I need to place underneath it?
A paragraph?
And what should I place within the paragraph?
Uh, I'm not sure of the goal.
I want to I guess I should leave this open. I want to recreate this.
Mhm.
So maybe I'll just copy this.
Oh. How do you do
And
the box?
well, that's the next question. How would I
Okay.
make this a boxed section? Where would one need to look if one didn't know how to place a decorative box around a section?
You do an aside title? Is that what that created?
We can do an aside that has a box by itself by default, but what if I want a section for some reason? I don't want students to be able to collapse it, so I want a section. How would I modify the behavior of a section? Or in other words, how would I find out something that I don't know how to do in Doenet?
Go to the reference page.
That's what I was trying to get someone to see. So I can either click on section and click on reference page down here, or the other way to get to the documentation is by clicking on this help icon and then going to documentation. I'll use this. I'll use this. Now here I'm going to expand all the attributes and I will scroll very slowly, and all you're doing is looking at these names and seeing if one speaks to you. And again, the goal is to put a decorative box around the section.
Boxed, collapsible.
Yeah, look at that. There's a attribute called boxed. So if we go back here, I can, within this section, I can add boxed. And if I update, hey, look at that. Now I have a boxed section.
That's cool.
Mhm.
Now I want there to be another boxed section within this section. How would I accomplish that?
Nested boxes.
So gets across the idea that we should be able to nest things as well. So if I place a section that's boxed, let's see what happens. Yeah, look at that. There's a boxed section, and within there is another boxed section. But notice that the title here is section 2.1. I don't want that title. I want the title to be introduction. How do you think we would change that?
Can you remove the word section?
I think I heard remove the word section.
Yeah,
And what would I replace it with?
I'm
Title?
not sure.
Pardon me?
Instructions, or I'm not sure.
So if I do that, remember that right after an angle bracket is the name of a component. Instruction is not the name of a component.
Mm.
So we wouldn't be able to do that. I want to keep the section, but there's something I have to do here.
Something like title equals false or
Do I just write title
No auto
equals
title.
false?
You're trying to remove the 2.1? Is that what you said?
Yes, I want for it to not say section 2.1. I want
How
it to
about using
say
a string, title
instructions.
equals instructions, quote, instructions.
inside of the bracket.
So that doesn't
Yeah,
seem like
inside
the
the
correct
tag.
place. If I do that,
Mhm.
huh.
Mm,
So the error message is telling us that title is not an attribute of section. That's not
Hmm.
a way that we can modify that behavior.
Is there a star like in Overleaf if you want equations and sections numbered or not? You use a star to prevent the numbering.
You can do that within an M tag, but that's different to what I'm trying to get at.
Okay.
So
Okay.
perhaps look at the document itself. What told us that this was the title of the document?
title.
There's a title component, right? So within the section component, what if I take that away and I
Hmm.
type title instructions? Now let's see what this really is saying. This is saying I have a box named section. Within that box is another box called title, and within that box is the word instructions. Questions? Feel like I lost the room there.
And you have the second little thing under the instructions. And why was that created? What was that created? Is that because is that where the body of the box is gonna go? Is that
Are you
created by
asking
default?
why this was created?
I'm looking at the view of the view, like under the word instructions, there's like a little another empty box. No,
Yep.
no, I'm sorry, the second one right, under the last word that under the last instructions.
Okay.
There's another second empty box,
Yes.
right?
So that's this section that was created.
Hmm.
The title of that section is instructions.
Hmm.
Now, if I wanted to put this was the empty box earlier,
Hmm. Okay,
that stuff goes inside that box.
got it.
So if you'd like to give a title to your section, you have to explicitly say, here's a section, here's the title to that
Yeah,
section.
got it.
If you
Okay.
don't tell Doenet what the explicit title is, it will auto number things based on where it lives in the document.
Mm, okay.
So if you have a problem, it will just say problem one unless you change the title.
Mm,
If you have a section, it will just call it section 3 because it is the third section, unless you change the title of that specific section.
mhm.
Mhm.
So there's always a default naming and numbering scheme that's happening behind the scenes. You can modify it based on your needs if you wish to. I want to move on past this. Just a couple other things. These are borrowed from HTML, I think. How do you think we make an ordered list? Is there stuff happening in the chat? Sorry, I'm not keeping an eye on there. Clark says OL. That is indeed correct. So an OL for an ordered list, a UL for an unordered list. And you can use list items for LI or LI for list items. This is the first thing. So here's an ordered list. If I want to just make this a bulleted list, I can make it unordered, change this to L, and now it's just a bulleted list. So this was just to get you to realize you can have sectional components where you can visually change the way things look in your document. You can have ordered lists if you want things numbered, and you can have unordered lists if you don't care for the numbering. What if you want section 2.1 instructions? Do you have to do that manually? Yes. So if I don't include a title here, it will default to section 2.1. If you want section 2.1 colon instructions, that would need to be manually referenced.
Or you can add like include auto name or include auto number or something like that.
Include auto number.
And then give it a title. No, I mean, yeah, also include the title's child.
Oh, I did not know that.
And you could also add include auto name if you really wanted to put them both in there. Then if you wanted to have the whole thing.
Learn something new every day.
In the documentation, it says like include auto number equals true. You don't need to put the little Boolean thing there to get the.
That's right. So if you don't put equals anything, it's a shorthand for equals true.
Okay.
So it's just a shortcut.
Okay.
But yeah, if you said equals true equals quote true, that'd be the same thing.
At some point, I have maybe a silly question about sections. I don't know how to make section 1. It seems like it was numbered section 2, but it was the first instance of using section. Maybe I'm
This is where the
misreading
first
something.
section was used.
So, oh, I see, section boxed. So,
The whole
okay, I see.
thing is a section. Now, if you take that away and just make this a title, then your numbering will start wherever you used your first section.
All right. Yeah, I think I did this. I did in my own sample. My first section seems to be called section 2, but never mind. I understand yours. So thank you.
The numbering is also a little wonky because if you have an aside and then a section,
Hmm.
if I'm correct, Dwayne, then it starts numbering from the first sectional component, not the section component itself.
Right. I'm not sure what's supposed to happen, but right now asides are included in the numbering. So
Yeah. So if you have, for instance, aside,
Yeah,
and
aside
then
seems to be the first section, and then the
that's
next
right.
one is, yeah.
Which maybe
the
should be changed, but right now that's how hacks.
I'm okay. I know how it works now. It's the aside.
Hmm.
Thank you.
And that definitely has been confusing people, so we should probably rethink that.
all right. Shall we take a short break, Dwayne, or do you want to barge ahead?
Yeah, break is good.
4:40 Eastern, we shall resume. 5 minutes.
Am I up next?
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe I'll take this opportunity to ask like a nerd question, which is It seems like you are using the word component like pretext uses the word tag or something like this.
Right. I use the word component and tag interchangeably. I can't keep them straight. So they're equivalence class in my brain.
Very good.
Is there a difference? I guess I should have asked
Letter.
this like 4 years ago, but what's the difference, or is there
Well,
one?
component has a lot more letters in it. Tag only has three. So that's one big difference.
Well, is there a technical or I guess a pedantic difference outside of string length?
I don't know. What do you guys think? I don't know. I just use them the same way.
I would say that tag is like strictly the markup and component is all of the code and functionality behind it. That would be my interpretation.
So that's why I always use the word component, maybe, because I'm thinking of the programming language behind it. Okay, that's my excuse.
Yeah.
I'm so happy I don't understand what Melissa just said. I know it's not good to be ignorant, but it's like, yeah, I will continue to live in my bubble where my activities work and I don't know why. And if they really break, then I go complain to Dwayne.
Whoever mentioned the World Cup, what are your thoughts on the current score?
Seems deserved. I have not been paying super attention because, I'm like in a workshop too,
Yep.
but Spain seems to have had the run of play by and large.
Yeah, I also have not been super focused because I'm half listening and half working on a grant proposal. But
Oh, nice.
yeah, yeah, it would be interesting to see France knocked out.
No kidding.
Uh-huh.
I'm surprised they have not seemed to be playing well.
Mhm.
Okay, aesthetically though, this is my very favorite France uniform.
Mm-hmm. It's
The
a nice one.
tricolor, like with the white shorts and the red socks. So sick.
Uh-huh.
Hate to cut this nice conversation short. Dwayne, you're up.
Okay, so I'll stop listening to the World Cup. Actually, I don't have it on, but my kids have it on downstairs. Okay. Uh, what am I doing? Oh yeah, I forgot to prep. Hold on. Um, All right, okay. Let me share your screen. We're going to go back to the scratch pad. Let's share the right screen this time. So if I go over here to my scratch pad, and then what we want to do is we want to load in math answer examples. So what we're going to do now is going to talk a little bit more about automatically created answers, and particularly the mathematical kind, because that's the kind that we focus a lot on. So go ahead and load up math answer examples, and we'll show you how to have your students enter math responses. Here's the simplest case. If you look at line 12 here, if I want to ask the question, give a little answer blank here, all I have to do is put in answer, and then inside the answer, I put the correct answer. When I do that, it creates this little answer box, and you can see if it will grade you correctly, if you can figure out what x plus x is. All right, so that's how we get our answer blank to x. So that's the simplest way of doing an answer. You just put answer and you put that in there. And that used to be okay. But now you'll notice on this document, there's an error in this document. If you look over here, there's this little WCAG symbol here. And if I had, it says, oh, accessibility guide violations identified. So there's some kind of accessibility violation. If I click on that, it says there's something wrong because an answer with an input has to have a short description or a label. And so the problem with this one is this box here, there's no identifiable marker for a screen reader to know what in the world it is. So they'll just get this box. And so to meet accessibility guidelines, you have to have some description of it. And the main way that we will do this with is by adding a label. And so if you look at line numbers starting at line 22, it's the same thing as what was on line 12, but now I've added a label child. And so if I wanted to fix this one over here, I'm going to fix the one that was broken just to make it clear. If I go over here into my answer, I can add a label, and then I can copy and paste this inside for the label. And now you'll see it says, what is x plus x? What is x plus x? It doubles everything. But now there's no more this green guy. Now I no longer have an angry person over here. But I don't want to double label it. So then what I should do is actually just remove this text over here. And when I do that, now the screen reader knows that this what is x plus x is the question being asked here. And so it'll say, okay, you're in a text box. The label is what is x plus x. So you want to have a green guy over here. We'll talk more a little bit about accessibility in the last day on Friday, but we try to at least make sure that we try to prod you in the direction of doing things accessible. Now, just because this is a green guy doesn't mean it actually is accessible, right? I could have put in some garbage in here, right? So we can't tell if it actually is accessible, but at least we can tell you if you had a screen reader, if you had like a accessibility checker scanning your document, we can identify a lot of those errors, and then hopefully it's up to you to figure out exactly how to make a description and what the appropriate thing is. Now, if you can't remember how to do a label in here, here's one little shortcut. I'm going to put this, where am I going to be? I'm going to be right before this is equivalently. Okay, so I'm here. All right, so I'm right there. And if I want to do an answer tag, I could, normally I type in answer, but we also have these little snippets. And if I do answer labeled, if I click on that, then it fills in the whole thing. And it kind of reminds me what to do. Oh yeah, it's a label. I put my label, 1 plus 1. Oops. 1 plus 1, and then I put the answer 2. And now I have my little 1 plus 1 with a 2 here. So that's just a little shortcut, a little snippet if you want. We try to add some of those. We've only added a few at this point. But if we get, we're open for suggestions for like what we can do to um, make things make it easier for people to write stuff. Okay. We want to do things a little more, we want to add some more complexity. I'm going to first, though, make a small change. I'm going to take this little 2x here, and I'm going to wrap it inside an award tag. And when I do that, nothing happens. It's exactly the same. But I'm just going to do that to make it easier for what we do later. So I don't need to put an award. If I put an award around this, it just says, this is what I'm going to award credit for. And we'll use that in more complicated cases. Again, I haven't changed anything. This still is 2x. This one is still 2x. But I like to put the award in there because it's like looks cleaner to me. And then as we do the more advanced answer checking, you'll see that we need to use the award. Just a plug. We're going to talk about more accessibility, but if you want to see some more of the details besides accessibility, I have this little link here. You can look at other ways of making your answers accessible.
Quick question.
Mhm.
I noticed on the first simple version, you used the math label, and then when you went down, sorry, you used math tag, is that the right
Mhm.
word? And then you didn't use it, you just put it inside label without math. Does it matter if you're using the math
So the
tag or
math
not?
is another way of it that if I got rid of the math, so I'm over here on the simplest one, right?
Yes.
If I get rid of the math, then it's not formatted as math. It's the same, it's very similar. We'll talk about this more later, but it's very similar to this M tag. It's
Hmm.
just it lets us do some computations. When you do math, you have a full computer algebra system and you can make it simplify and do other things. It
Okay.
also doesn't do LaTeX. It has a little different format. But so M tag is like just it'll display it in whatever MathJax, which is a program that we use. So most LaTeX will show up in there. When we use a math, I don't know why I did a math. I guess I'm in the habit of doing math rather than M, but math opens up a whole like computer algebra system and simplifications and things like that.
Okay, so they're not M tag and math tag are not equivalent. Math
Not
tag has
equivalent.
fancy extra functions.
That's right. And it has a limited, it does a smaller set of math expressions because those only ones that our computer algebra system understand. So M will do anything that is in LaTeX. M will do
Okay.
a smaller subset, and it's not actually LaTeX. It's ASCII math or whatever. But it's
Uh,
don't do backslashes. So for example, if I do,
so math could complain about what you did
yeah,
it.
if I do math 2 divided by x, you can see it does a little fraction here. If I
Mhm.
tried to do math frac 2 divided by x, it's like, okay, I don't know what you meant.
Got it.
Yeah, well,
Well,
so it's like a little,
got it that there's a distinction.
it's not but it lets us do things. I mean, we're getting in, if you go to mathematical tags in Doenet, if you want to get that spelled out more, but it does let us do things like 2 plus 2. Oh, 2 plus s, that doesn't work. 2 plus 2, and then I can simplify it, and now it gives me,
Hmm.
so it does simplification.
Okay. And what engine did you say that uses what?
I just called it a computer algebra system. That's just a generic name for it. It's a homegrown, uh, it's a homegrown computer algebra system. It's very limited. It's way dumber than like Simpy or Sage or Mathematica or whatever. It doesn't do
Okay.
very much, but it does a little bit.
Got it.
Uh, What happens if I do this? What is x plus x? And I say, well, I think the answer is x plus x. What do you get there?
That's fine.
Right. It says x plus x. And now the answer was this one, 2x. And what it does by default, it says, well, anything mathematically equivalent, and well, 2x and x plus x are the same. So that's fine. I could also do sine squared of y plus cosine squared of y times x. That's also mathematically the same. So it does anything that is mathematically equivalent by default, which is great in some cases, right? If I'm trying to do a calculus problem and whatever, it's a complicated, I don't care about that they know how to do simplifications, but I don't want to think about exactly what order do they have to put things in. I'll just say, all right, we'll just let anything mathematically equivalent apply. But for an algebraic question like this, that's probably not what you want, because you probably don't want x plus x be in there. If you want to, so this is what this default answer checker is. It's actually a numerical checker. Yeah, what it does, it randomly picks 20 points in the complex plane and it evaluates the two expressions. And if they're the same in all 20 points, it's like, okay, it must be the same, and we'll call them. So it's a very generous equality checker. If you want them to be more precise, you can do something here called symbolic equality. When you do symbolic equality, that means now I want it to be the exact same symbols as you specified. And so if I do here x plus x, it'll say it's wrong. 2x is right. Because I said I'm awarding, my answer is 2x, so it'll only give me 2x. And the key thing was symbolic equality. And that's exact. It won't let you do anything different. If I did x times 2, it's wrong because that's a different symbolic tree. I wasn't planning on focusing on that, but you can, if you look up the answer tag, there's like ways of interpolating between the two and allowing things to be changed. And there are a lot of other kinds of things you can look up. If I go to the answer, I don't get my little context sensitive help anymore because I opened up the accessibility window. But if I want to go back over here to context sensitive help, then I'll see my old thing. And then I can click on the reference page. And if I go to the list of attributes, you can see different symbolic equality and a bunch of other kinds of things you can do. I'm not going to get into that right now. But simplify and compare is the one that I want. Where is simplify compare? Is it just other? The one you might want to look at is the simplify and compare if you're interested in allowing some changes but not others. You could do that. But I want to go back and just leave it with plain old symbolic equality. And I want to talk about, rather than mathematical manipulations, let's just talk about other ways of assigning credit. So let's look at this one down over here. And you can look at the code here and then think about what you think this means, and then just go ahead and try different answers here and see if you can if you can interpret these little awards here and what happens over here. We'll play around with that.
Do we have a copy of this?
Yes, you go into the scratch pad, you click on load, and you go to math answer examples. Sorry. Yes, you should be able to play around with this. And I'm on somewhere on not exactly line 81 anymore in your because I've changed some things above, but somewhere around line 80.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I have lost. I think I made my own account and got my own space and closed some windows, and now I've lost the original window which had all of these things in it. Was that originally shared as a? It's not just under beta-donut.org.
Yeah, if you're on beta.donut, or you can click on try writing. It doesn't matter if you're
Try
logged in.
writing.
Yeah, try
Yes,
writing,
thank you. Now I've got it.
and then you can get under load.
Yep, got it.
Or you can go directly to beta.donut.org/scratchpad if you want to type it directly.
And this is graphical answer examples,
It is
not
math answer examples.
method. Got it. Thank you very much.
Hmm. So did you guys try different things for number 4? And did it make sense by looking at the code? I'm able to correlate between the two? Any questions about how that worked?
Just I notice here in the label you have 4 with the answer that shows up in the answer block a little bit lower.
Hmm.
Why do we need that there? And I don't see it being used in other places.
So if I go to this example above, notice how the label is inside the answer. So Doenet knows that this label is associated with this answer bar. Here, I wanted to put the label above it on a different line. And so I had to stick it outside the answer because I wanted to put it in a paragraph. And so now Doenet doesn't know that this label goes with this answer. So I have to tell it. I have to tell it, okay, this label is actually for this answer. And that's required to, if I got rid of this, then I would get this little squiggly here again saying it must have a short, because it doesn't know that this label belongs to this answer because it's
Thank
not a
you.
child. So I instead put that back in there. And then now when I click on, where is it? I'm over here. It will know the screen readers, it'll read the compute the integral to the screen reader.
And would it be a good idea when writing these questions to put something like for the arbitrary constant use capital C or lowercase c, like be explicit to the students what to
That's right.
use?
Right. Yep. And
Okay.
you can do things like you can add a, so you can put it in a label, but I like to put things like that in something called a description. You see for the constant. And when you do that, it has a little thing right here.
But now you're giving away the
Nice.
Right.
the
So,
50%
or,
credit option,
right, you can also do this. Yeah,
or
true.
don't be
So,
infinitely wrong.
right, you can do something like a feedback and condition it. You could say, I'm only going to do it after they answer incorrectly 3 times. Or you could give the
Mm,
feedback if
Okay.
they do this, I could say, let me do this one. Name equals no constant. I could do feedback. Okay. I'm not exactly explaining all this stuff here, but you get the idea. I could say feedback. You don't know what that dollar sign means. Don't forget the constant. Then if I type in, what was it? X cubed divided by 3, then you get a little feedback here. So you can do it that way. Depending on whether you want it to always show up or under what conditions, there's different ways you can. And depending on how much you want to give away to your students and how much you just want to, like maybe this is their first time and you want to tell them ahead of time.
is there a
That's
way
cool.
to do something? Yeah. I mean, could you do something where you take, like, if they don't match the like x cubed over 3 plus c, could you do something where like you take their answer, subtract x cubed over 3, and if it's like a plus something that remains, give a feedback where it's like, oh, it looks like you used a plus c, but it should, or like plus a constant, but like it should have been a plus c. So if they
Right,
used plus k or
right,
something like that instead, trying just like to give them a nudge when they're like their modulo the const, like the formatting of the
right.
constant, kind of.
So you can do all that in Doenet. Now you're talking about
Cool.
something more complicated.
Yeah,
And
sorry.
yeah, so I don't want to go down that rabbit hole yet, but yes, there are ways where you can do different calculations. You can actually grab operands off of math things and decide if it's a plus sign or whatever. You can do crazy things like that if you really want to. But
Nice.
imagine it's a more complicated type thing, so it's a little more complicated to write that up.
Yeah.
Um, but
Thanks.
and additionally, I think you said you could give feedback the third time they did it. Is there a counter for the number of
Yeah,
attempts?
I could do something like, okay, my answer's already named, it's answer. I could do feedback condition equals ans dot. Let's see, which one of these looks like a counter? Probably starts with
Oh,
N.
okay.
Uh,
It has a counter. Cool.
no, not num responses.
Mm.
Anyway, num submissions. Here we go. Num submissions. I bet
Num submissions.
is greater than 2, third or later. Let's see. Which one was I doing that on?
Sorry,
Um,
I didn't mean to draw on the
oh,
page. I'm just trying to
yeah.
take a screenshot.
Oops. It was this one, right? So no feedback, no feedback, no feedback. Yeah, they're not giving me a third or later. So it was this num submissions thing. And again, if you can't remember, I could go to the answer and look at the different properties. We haven't been talking about, I don't know, are we talking about properties at some point? This is something called a property. I can't remember when we get.
I was going to wait until graphing, but
Okay, so
I
we'll come to
mentioned
those
the word
later.
earlier when I was on the documentation, so you can talk about it now.
I think that's just, okay, well, if I go to the documentation, I go to the reference page, and well, this one has a separate properties section, but it gives you the different properties, and you always can do dot whatever. And we were using dot uh, num submissions. And if I click on it, this one happens to be a link. I can click on this, and it gives me an example of how we used it. So some of these properties have examples. And it was basically, well, here I just reported it, number of submissions equals 0. Right. So I'm not triggering anything. I'm just reporting it for that example.
Mhm.
So we have properties, which are things you can read off of it. And also when I did it here, it also told me this was a property. Okay, so we went a we had some fun. Let's see, is there anything else I actually want to say about this? I mean, you got the partial credit part, right? The x squared or the cube divided by 3.
Mhm.
All right, and that came from this credit equals 0.5, 0.5. And then I made it more complicated. I'm gonna do one more before I give you your task. Let's just do number 5 here.
Quick question just on the partial credit. There might be multiple things for which you would get partial credit of 0.5. Do they just get listed out or do they get repeated? So there's 2 answers. I can't see what another obvious answer would be here in this
Right.
case, but if there was
Well,
another,
let's say if I did, I don't know, you wanted to give partial credit for, I don't know why, they use a Y.
you just list them.
Yeah, I just list them and it will match. What it does is it matches and it finds it matches all the awards and it will choose the one with the most credit. So
Okay.
and so fine. And if I did this, if I said plus C, then that never does anything because if this is matched, so is this one, and it will choose the one with more credit.
Okay.
But
Okay.
Y, then it gives me, now I can do Y cubed divided by 3 plus C. And it gives me half. Okay, let's look at this guy right here. The question is find the roots of this polynomial, the cases where it's equal to 0. And in this case, I just said, okay, if there's more than one answer separated by commas. And you can see that I just said the award, the answer I'm going to give credit for is 2 comma negative 5. And so if I do 2 negative 5, now what happens if you do 5 negative 5 2? Does that also work? Now why does it accept negative 5 comma 2?
The list?
Pardon me?
But
If it's a list of answers?
Right, but how do I know that it's an unordered list?
You
it
wrote
says
unordered
unordered
compare.
compare. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, an order.
Like, unordered compare, so you're right, it's only with list-like responses, right? So it had to be a list, and it tells you whether order is ignored when comparing list-like responses. So those 2 things had to be present. What do you think would happen if I did 5 comma negative 5 comma 3? What would you expect it to, what kind of credit?
Half credit because you have match
50%.
partial.
All right, so here above, we explicitly put in an award for partial credit. Here, I'm using a shortcut saying match partial. And there, it has some algorithm. In this case, well, it's a list, so it's going to just give you 50% for each. And so you can play around with that. So this is one way of generating partial credit. Now, if I got rid of unordered compare, and now I put in, so I coded it as 2 comma negative 5. If I did negative 5 comma 2, what do you think it would do?
Partial credit
Why would it give me partial?
because they're not in the same order as your question.
All right, and it tries to match an ordered list, and it finds 2 with nothing after it. If I'd done negative 99, it still gives me 50% because it's just basically finding one of the 2 and saying the other one's ignored. Any other questions before we set you on a task?
Just this file seems super essential if you're going to try and write any set of questions.
Mm-hmm.
So I've saved it.
A quick question. I'm trying to do that video, sorry. The one where you started the 50% and you said y cubed plus 3, y cubed over 3. So is that generic? So like if a student does a z cubed, are they going to get 50% as well?
No, you'd have no. I mean, I have to put in a supposed to put in a z.
Okay, so that's just specific to that variable error then. Okay,
That's right. I mean,
okay.
if you want, you can look up the tag matches pattern if you want to
Mm-hmm.
look at how to do something more complicated, but I wasn't
Okay.
gonna get into that one here. But
Okay, thank you.
you can do pattern matching with wildcards and things like that.
Okay, yeah, no, thank you. I just because since you said that something else was repeating the pattern, I
Hmm.
I wasn't sure if that also meant that the Y was
Right. No, not in
like a
this case.
placeholder or something, you know. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Well, here, I'll paste these into the chat at some point. But here is the next activity we're going to do. We're going to spend, I don't know how long we'll like,
Give me a time, Dwayne.
give me a time. How long do you want? Like
No,
10,
you tell me how long folks have, so then I
well,
can
what
be a
else do we have?
timekeeper.
Okay. Let's let's say 10 minutes. We'll check in after 10 minutes and then we can decide how much longer we need. So like at 22 after the hour, you can try this and just let us know if you have any questions. Feel free to unmute yourself or ask a question. And I'm going to paste this into the chat, I think, so that it's easier. Do I have it pasteable? I may have given you the answer to the second one. If so, then just keep going with the later ones.
Question on the third bullet. Is there a two uppercase function or something, or do you just have to, is it a brute force, put in all the options?
No, you don't want to force put in all the options. You want to go to the documentation
Okay,
or answer and see if you can find something that looks relevant.
all right. Mhm. Is it possible to get a hint? Like, do I have to look under advanced to see about case sensitivity or no hints?
I have no idea. Let's
Okay. Okay, I'll back to the drawing board.
I mean, you can also you can search here.
Well, I searched for case and I got something else.
If you search for case, do you get the same thing I do?
Oh, let's see. Well, my search didn't stay inside the answer
Oh yeah,
area.
yeah. This search doesn't work. I'm a little confused why this doesn't. But if you go to the answer, go to attributes, and then search the actual attribute,
Oh, found it. Yeah. If you click inside the white window, then yeah.
then
Excellent. Okay,
it works.
nice. So it's under other.
Yeah, apparently it's under other. Yeah. Need to spend some work organizing those. How's it going? I think our 10 minutes are up. Do you guys want more time or any questions?
Yeah, cannot find where to put the dot.
I don't find where to put for which one?
The third one, like you got to do something dot case
Oh,
insensitive, whatever.
so
And
that
it's
there's no,
ounce.
no dot there.
I thought it was by a dot that you
Yeah,
got
so
here.
a dot was for if I want to reference some kind of number, like if I want to look up a value, then I would do answer dot num submissions. And that's called a property. What we want to do is something like where we did, um, where is my match partial? That's an attribute. So I can, if I go here and I type C, you'll notice one of the options here, I'm in the wrong one, I guess, but one of the options is case insensitive match.
Oh, I thought I'd use a dot. Okay, no dot, just add
Yeah,
it in the. Oh, all right. Oh, well,
add it
that's
in
much
the,
easier.
yeah, I'm in
Okay.
the wrong spot though. I think it's for the one over here.
Yeah.
But case insensitive match. Now I can also do, I can look up case insensitive match with a property. It'll give me true or false. But I don't know why you do that, but you can reference it and say, is it doing case insensitive match? And it would tell you.
Okay, but it doesn't like it. I mean, when I try to use it, I put in what you have, case
Okay.
insensitive match,
Mm-hmm.
and I had added the K. Oh, it's at 80%. No, it is working. Okay, cool, it's working. Yeah.
It's working.
I get case insensitive match, and then the capital K also gives me 80%. So
There you go. Oh yeah, I guess I wouldn't put it here. I want it in an award, don't I? But okay, you guys figured it out.
isn't that where it's supposed to be? Where you have it?
Well, I can't remember where are my instructions.
Oh, answer name. Well,
Oh no, yeah, that's right. That's not 80% for that one, is it? No, Pat's
the
modify.
plus you wanted us to put in a plus K at 80%,
Oh, okay, all right. So
so
this,
that you don't
this
have that, but I
right. Okay,
I
got it.
followed your assignment.
Yep. No, that's fine. Because you can also put a case insensitive match in a particular award if you want only that one to be case insensitive. Uh, any other questions or were you
Just a
able to?
quick thing, because this was something I was quite confused with and sometimes still am. Um, I think of attributes as things that modify the way the component looks or behaves. So if I have an answer tag and I want to change the way credit is given, I need to do that by way of an attribute. A property is something that is a thing that comes as a result of student interaction. And I know that I'm not technically correct, but so if a student has gotten some points correct and I want to know how many points the student has, that would need to get accessed by way of a property. So if you're trying to distinguish when to use an attribute versus when to use a property, at least in my bad analogy, requires the student to have done something and then I can do something with that piece of information. So how many submissions have you had? Once you've had 3 submissions, I will give you this feedback. That requires the use of a property, num submissions. If I want to allow you to move on to the next problem based on whether you've done this first one correct or not, that requires the property credit achieved. But if I just want to show something or award credit that has nothing to do with student input yet, that has to do with attributes. I don't know if that helps or makes things worse.
Okay, so were most of you able to get the tasks finished? Does anybody
I
want
didn't get
extra
the last
time?
one finished.
Didn't get the last one yet. Let's wait a couple more minutes. I don't want to wait too long because I don't know, I got one more section. Just trying to give him a half hour for that.
Was that intended to be nice, that last one? Because I did it in a really ugly way.
How'd you do it?
Well, I just listed the credit of 70% if you put them in the reverse order, but that doesn't test for a disordered list, an unordered list.
Right. So you could do it that way. You could also have a separate. So this is the one right here.
Right.
You can put unordered compare on a particular award,
Oh, okay. Oh, nice. Okay, that's much nicer.
and then you could do, I don't know what credit I'm supposed to give,
You said 70%. Yeah.
70%, like something like that. A lot of these attributes you can put either on the award or on the answer.
Got it. It can go at different
Depending on
depths.
granularity of how specific you want it to be. So Spencer, what do you mean by doing it in the other order? You mean the order of these attributes? Because I can switch the order like this, it doesn't matter. Attributes themselves are unordered.
Like if you put uh your line 108 before your line 107.
Oh, yes, that's fine. That. That's fine. It might break ties, but I don't remember anymore. Ties might be broken by the order in which they appear in the list, but since these will never, you don't have a tie, it'll pick whichever one matches with the highest credit.
Yep, I just tested it. That's cool.
Okay.
All right. Well, now one more part. I don't know, it's going to talk about some pretzels and whatnot.
I guess I should start with their origin. Um, is anyone familiar with circuits? Excellent. Um, I taught AP Calculus 1 year during the pandemic at a local high school, and that's where I found out about these things called circuits. These are just take your standard worksheet and take the problems and turn them into a loop. The requirement here with a circuit is that you have a first problem. So everyone in the class must start with this question. The downside here is that everyone gets the same problems, which is not as cool. With Doenet, you can randomize so that every student gets their own question and therefore their own pretzel or circuit. I found this to be restrictive in my own course because, again, if you're taking an intermediate algebra class in college, you probably don't have the greatest of relationships with mathematics. And you're coming in with some fairly harsh thoughts. I can't do math. I've never been able to do math. The connotation of having to have everyone start with one specific question, well meaning or otherwise, was, well, this is the easiest problem and you should be able to do this. So I started by making things circuits, and I often found students would mumble, I can't do this problem, but I can do some other question. And that led me to be ostracized from the AP Calculus community because they said, no, a circuit is a circuit is a circuit, and you cannot bastardize the way things are. So we had to come up with our own name. We couldn't even call them circuits anymore. So circuit, you can make it in Doenet if you wish to. You start with the first problem. Here, that numbering is fixed. You can't change it. You solve this question and you look for the answer. Since we've already done this, I won't spend too much time on it. But again, one of the downsides is if you don't know how to solve the very first question, you're sort of locked out of accessing the activity. My change to this early on was, well, what if you start anywhere or you allow the student to start anywhere? And I think someone's ego got hurt because they said, well, there's a reason why I've placed the first problem first, and that's where students have to start it. Whatever. But there was a shortcoming that I was trying to get one to get to. Any thoughts on why this might not be the perfect vessel? Never do math live, so hopefully this works. So what happens at this stage? Whether you're in a pretzel structure or you're in a circuit structure, regardless of where you start, what's the issue at this point?
You don't have to do any work. You already know the last answer.
You mark this as 6 and you get that problem for free, which was a big problem for me. So we created something called salty pretzels, affectionately named by students because it made them salty. These questions have distractors in them. You don't know how many distractors there are when you start the pretzel. They could all be distractors if I'm really mean. Or none of them could be distractors if I'm on the other end of the spectrum. So you have to, if you start a problem within the loop and you do everything correctly, you get to the end of the loop and you've made the circuit or you've completed the pretzel. But if we start, I think, with this one, the solution to this would be 2, and notice that we don't see an answer of x equals 2 anywhere. So we know that this must be a distractor, and the instructions state, whenever you find a distractor, mark it with an X. This required students to solve every single question, and then it required a greater level of certainty on their end to say, yes, not only am I committing that everything I've done is correct, I'm certain that I'm correct because I marked the unused problems as distractors. So students got a little annoyed, but one of the nice features of this was that every single question had to be solved, unless, of course, you're guessing. This doesn't prevent guessing. You can guess and still get everything correct, but entropy is fairly high. So what I thought we would do is create one from scratch. You can do this in the Scratchpad, but I encourage you to create an account if you haven't yet. Log in, and we'll give maybe everyone... Does anyone need time to get to this stage? Everyone's created an account by now? Not hearing any dissension. Okay, next thing I'd like for us to do is click on My Activities, and you might not see all of this stuff. It might be just a couple of things or perhaps nothing at all. Once you're in My Activities, click on this blue button that says New, and we will create a new document. Again, once you've logged in, click on My Activities, click on the blue button that says New, and then click Document. And then you should get a blank document.
Excuse me, it says, do I want to turn on or off author mode?
Yes, we want to turn on author mode because we're going to be authoring things.
Right. Thank you.
Sure. Anyone not at this stage? Or on this page, rather. All right. Now, a couple of things. If you start typing pretzel, you'll notice a couple of options appear. So if we just use the regular old pretzel component and nothing else, you'll notice nothing happened. On the other hand, if we use one of these templates that Wayne's created kindly, this will give you a skeletal structure for 6 problems. And if I click update, you'll notice I have space for 6 questions. So could we all get to here? I'll demo this again. In your editor window, start typing in pretzel, and then let's just do the 6 problem template for now. If you press enter or you click on it, the stuff on the left-hand side should appear. To make sure that you do actually have it working, you can either use Command or Control S or click this update button. Are we all there? All right, now this is as simple as this. Where it says statement, in that space, just type in some simple arithmetic. So don't, for now, do anything fancy or anything complicated. We will have you assign the pretzel that you're making to someone else in the room, have them do it so that you get feedback on, or you get to see how the entire life cycle of an activity works. So here, what I would like for you to do is just write 6 simple arithmetic questions. Don't even worry about using M tags. So 1 plus 2. Where do you think the answer should go to that problem? If you had to guess.
Between the answer,
Thank you,
whatever we
Matthew.
call those things. Yeah.
Ah, Spencer Colored and Matthew, help me out. All right, the answer to that problem is 3. And then create 5 more problems and let me know when you're done. So all you're doing is typing just simple arithmetic questions. We're going to assign it to each other, do the activity, and then we'll continue. I'm happy to help if anyone gets stuck. I forgot to say a time. So shall we say 45 minutes past? Shouldn't be too long.
I say 42 minutes past.
Let's meet halfway in the middle. 43 past the hour. All right, so hopefully anyone still need another minute, or are we okay? All righty. Now, a couple of things to the top right corner of this page. If we look up here, there's two buttons. One is called Sharing Settings. Currently, this activity is private. Only I can see it. So if I click this button, I have a couple of things. I can invite individuals by sharing their email addresses, which is quite clunky. Although at different stages of development, you may wish to keep things private. Unlisted, just like with YouTube. If you click Save Access, only folks that have access to this link can access this website or access this activity itself. And if you make things public, there's a greater burden to bear or higher standard to maintain. The activity should have no errors. It needs to be categorized correctly before we expose it to the general public. And then there should not be any accessibility violations. So I won't do that for now. I will just keep it unlisted. I will copy this link. And what I want you to do is just click on that link. You don't have to actually do it, but I shared something in the chat. You will need to do this later, so I will share the process again. In order to make an unlisted link for this entire activity so that someone can look at your source and also the activity itself, you click on Sharing Settings. By default, everything will always start out being private. You change it to unlisted. Click Save, or whatever the option was. What does it say? Save Access. And then there will be a link here that you can copy and share with someone else. So if you are writing an activity and something's not working, this is probably the easiest way to send the link to someone and say, hey, I need help with this. I don't know where it's broken, or whatever the case might be. That's how we share an activity, which is different to assigning one. What I'm about to do next is create an assignment that would be perhaps one that you send to students. You do that by clicking the blue button on the top right that says Create Assignment. Here you have the ability to toggle a bunch of things. Where do you want to have just one attempt, or do you want to have an unlimited number of attempts? If you were using variance, meaning you have different randomized numbers and problems, which we'll talk about tomorrow, you can turn this on to where everyone gets the same problem, or keep it off and everyone gets different numbers. You can have a toggle for when you want the assignment to close. And if I click Create Assignment, it will ask me, where do you want this assignment to live? So here I have a whole bunch of folders. You may or may not. I will just say Create in my activities. When I do, and I go back to my activities, and I scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll notice this is the one that we just made. If I click on this assignment, I can click on Invite Students, share this link with them, share the QR code, or give them the how many digits was it? Give them the 6-digit class code that students can type in. So a couple of different ways of getting the students to work through an assignment. So for now, what I would like for everyone to do is take the activity that they just made, create an assignment with it. So take the activity you just made, click on the big blue button on the right, create an assignment, go back to my activities once you've created the assignment, scroll all the way to the bottom or wherever your activity lives, click on Invite Students, and share this link in the Zoom chat. All right, so we're not waiting for too long. Spencer, would you mind working through Jane's activity? Jane, you got Rabia's. Rabia, you got Sean. Do the activity after your name. And then Jonathan, you're finishing the circuit with Spencer's activity. Then I think we have maybe a couple of people left. Do someone else's activity, please. So 2 minutes. Hopefully we can all do some arithmetic questions fairly quickly. Dwayne, do you want to do mine?
I was trying to do all of them,
Oh, okay.
although maybe not correctly.
I'm just saying Rabia's quiz was excellent and I got full credit.
All right, for anyone who might have missed this, I will do this one more time. So grab the activity that you just made. We're not sharing the activity, we're creating an assignment. So you click on the top right corner that says create assignment. You can leave this as it is for now. You don't have to worry about it. Click create assignment. It will ask you where you want that assignment file to live. For now, don't worry about it. Just click create in my account, or my activities rather. Once that's done, you will need to go back to my activities. Scroll down to find wherever your activity is. It's the one with this bar graph icon. It's called an assignment. Once you're there, you can click on invite students and copy this link. All right, hopefully everyone's had a chance to work through at least someone else's activity. I won't share any student data, but I'll share this activity. Once someone has worked through the activity, presumably your students, you'll notice that these scores get populated. Cameron is logged in to Doenet, so I see Cameron's name. Consider it Rain. I have no idea who it is, but this individual was not logged into Doenet, so a random pseudonym was assigned to them. And if I wanted to know what each person did, I can click on the score. I can see Cameron got it right in the very first attempt because there's only one attempt with a score of 100. And if I click on Consider It Rain, also got it correct in just one attempt. All right, I'm going to move on to the last bit. Which are some tasks. But before we get there, if we click on Community on the top of the page, the very first tab says Community Discussions. These are discussion forums that you might be used to. And the very top post is called July Donut Workshop Day 1 Tasks. If we click on it, we'll get to this. So if you have time to spare in your schedule, we'll have some of these short tasks assigned days 1, 2, 3. If you click on this page, it will bring you to these tasks. So the first task is create a new donut activity, give it a title of stuff with quadratics. Then you create a section and give it a title of day one tasks. Then create a sectional environment within that section that is collapsed by default. Hopefully you remember what does this. If not, ask for help and we'll give you a hint. That has some important terms. Now you'll notice some of this stuff is bold. It's a numbered list. It's an ordered list. Some of this has math in it. So once you're done, this is what it should look like with your activity. Then we have some additional questions to practice some answer validation stuff that Dwayne was talking about. This is just a single multiple choice question. This is a multiple choice question where you can select multiple answers, where students are expected to select all that apply. The instructions for all of those are shared right here. But essentially, when you're done with your activity or with your tasks, the top of the task should look like this. The bottom should look like this. With, for instance, this multiple choice question only has 3 attempts. So trying to recap things that we talked about today, but then also send you to the documentation so you get used to looking at attributes and properties and where you need them. Once you're done, what we would like for you to do is share not the assignment, because with the assignment, we don't get to see your source to see if you've done something in an interesting way that we didn't predict. So the links that you just shared in the Zoom chat were assignments that you would send to students where they would not be able to see your source on the left-hand side. What we want you to do is share your activity by doing this. Going to share settings on the top right, and then it will be private by default. Change it to unlisted, and then copy this link. And if you're not sure how to do that, there is a video of me doing that right here. Or if you forget, you can watch that video to go through those same couple of steps. Any questions? Dwayne, any closing remarks?
Where is this document?
So I'll send an email about it as well in our wrap up. But if you go to beta.doenet.org, on the top, you'll see community. Click on community discussions. The very first topic for today is July Doenet Workshop Day 1 tasks. The link to the document is there. I can also share a link to the document in the Zoom chat.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. Once I get the recording from YouTube, once Zoom finishes processing it, I'll send out an email recapping the day as well. Dwayne, Melissa, any thoughts in closing?
Nothing to add.
We'll see you tomorrow.
As I tell my students, do not forget the day I let you out early. Well, we'll give you back for 3.5 minutes of your evening. It's lovely to meet you all, and hopefully we'll see you again tomorrow.
Thank you.
Bye.
So much.
Thanks.